Good evening and welcome. That was really powerful, wasn't it? Seeing the 130 flags representing lives lost to suicide in Salford over the past 5 years. So it's good to see you all. Thank you to the Drumming Up Company for leading the parade and their amazing performance. The group was set up through what was Salford CCG, now Salford Integrated Care Partnership, and Salford CVS's, where I work, Suicide Prevention Fund. The group meet weekly down at Wharton in the Make Space area and are available to play at any of your events. Just get in contact with Dennis or reach out on their social media if you're interested. So, I'm Alison Page, I'm the Chief Exec of Salford CVS and I'm your host this evening. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Start, Bernie and Michelle and Dennis and lots of others here, and reach out Start to End Suicide to their 6th annual Vigil Procession of Remembrance in Start's 30th anniversary year. If you hear whistles blown or a siren sounded by marshals at any time this evening, these are acting as alarm warning systems. So if you could please follow the directions of the marshals in the high-vis vests, yellow high-vis vests. So, you might not know about Salford CVS, so I'm just going to say a few words as to why I'm here as your host tonight. Salford CVS, community and voluntary services, some say an emergency service, started life in 1919 as Manchester and Salford Council of Social Service, predate modern local authorities. This organisation was set up to help people and communities after the First World War, addressing disability, poverty, trauma and poor mental and physical health. Our job was to bring people together, to coordinate community response and to fill gaps. In 1973, with modern local authority boundary changes imminent, the organisation split into two, creating Salford CVS and Manchester CVS. Other than that, not a lot has changed. For the last 104 years, Salford CVS has been a constant presence in this our city, enabling volunteering and citizen and community action, developing and supporting local groups and organisations, facilitating partnerships, managing grants, helping people, filling gaps. I've been the custodian of Salford CVS for a mere 10 years. Might look older. So I'm incredibly proud to be your host tonight in this wonderful city, supporting a fantastic local charity, Start Inspiring Minds, and this, their 6th annual Vigil of Remembrance. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage Councillor Gina Reynolds, Salford's Ceremonial Mayor. Gina.
Good evening and a very warm welcome on behalf of the City of Salford. I'm honoured and humbled to address you all on World Suicide Prevention Day, and I'd like to thank Alison for hosting, and all the speakers and performers who we'll be hearing from tonight. We gather on this solemn occasion to remember the lives that have been lost to the pain of suicide. My heartfelt thoughts are with all those who have lost a loved one, a family member, a friend or colleague. We stand here tonight to pause and reflect on their lives. To those people who are struggling, I would like to send a message that you are not alone. As we know, it's been an extremely difficult few years with the COVID-19 pandemic and now a cost of living crisis. But it is important to remember that there are people and specialised services in our city who are there to care and provide that vital support. And it is okay to not feel okay. Tonight we'll be hearing a moving story from Melanie Anderton, who sadly lost her son Jake to suicide at just 23 years of age. Jake and Melanie's story is a stark reminder that beneath the busy surface of our daily lives, people we are in contact with may be struggling. I would like to thank Melanie in advance for sharing her heartbreaking story with us all tonight. Stories like this raise awareness, they help reduce stigma, they help us start conversations, and they act as a catalyst for change. I would also like to thank the award-winning mental health charity Starts for the fantastic work that they do in Salford, especially their Reach Out, Start to End Suicide campaign, and particularly to Dennis for organising this profound event. With the support of Salford Integrated Care Partnership, Salford University and Salford City Council. It is an extremely important event in the city's calendar each year, and one which the council will continue to support. We must remember that each flag in the procession represents a person who we have sadly lost to suicide over the past 5 years. I know this has had a profound impact on those who have lost a loved one and has left a void that can never be filled. We stand here tonight to reflect and remember you. In memory of all those who we have lost too soon, we need to ensure that we move forwards, that we talk more and look out for each other. Being able to talk to someone can be an initial step to reaching out for help, as well as being the source of long-term recovery and healing. And we must ensure that mental health is given the importance it deserves, and we do all we can to help promote the support and advice that is available for people to prevent further tragedies and offer comfort to all those who need it. Let us embrace kindness and reach out to those around us, particularly those who are struggling, and please speak out to get the help that you deserve and need. Thank you.
So thank you to Gina Reynolds there, Salford's ceremonial mayor. Unfortunately, local MP Rebecca Long-Bailey cannot be with us today, so she has provided us with a statement that Councillor Sharmina August is going to read out for her. So we now welcome Sharmina to the stage.
Rebecca is so sorry she cannot be here in person today. She's been appointed to a committee in Parliament that she can't get away from, but she's always been absolutely honoured to speak at the Vigil of Remembrance and indeed carry a flag over many years through this. She's asked me to speak on her behalf today, and it's something that I'm incredibly honoured to do. I actually lost my own grandmother to suicide, so this is an event that's always meant so much to me, and I've taken part in the vigil over many years. And too many of us have lost people to suicide, and today is an important opportunity for us all to honour them, to remember the 130 individuals and so many others represented by these flags who lost their lives to suicide. The statistics are truly devastating, but we are here to remember today the people behind those numbers. Later this evening, we'll hear their names, each and every one of them. And each and every one of them was a complex and beautiful human, with their own strengths, their own amazing qualities, their own loves and hates. Some of them were amazing authors, artists, athletes. Some of them loved to party. Some of them less so, loved snuggling up with a good book. But these were our sons, our daughters, our friends, our grandmothers. And as their friends and families, we all have our own happy memories with each of them that we cherish, we treasure, and we miss them dearly. And so much needs to be done to fund mental health services and support services, and it is urgent. And Rebecca knows it is an absolute mess in terms of the national picture. She knows it hurts. The pandemic, the cost of living crisis, just general normal life are so hard to deal with sometimes, especially when we are coping with being unwell on top of it. And it's not right that people are forced to wait months on end to get the support that they need. And I know that that support all too often is not good enough. Our mental health practitioners, our doctors, our counsellors, our therapists, our volunteers and the teams that support them, they're overworked, they're overwhelmed. And Rebecca, she cannot begin to thank you all enough, including our local organisations like Start, for their phenomenal work to support the people in Salford. But we are in this together, and we will keep fighting together. In Parliament, we need to see reforms to the Mental Health Act to make sure that everybody gets the care that they need in a way that works for them. It's been over 10 years since the government last put out a suicide prevention strategy, and that's simply not good enough as we see more and more people lose their lives every year. And the Labour government would roll out a new suicide prevention strategy right away. And we need funding for early support hubs. We need to ensure that there is significant national investment in both the NHS and social care more widely, so that free care is available in a timely manner close to home that works for people. And we know as well that it's not just mental health care. We need a functioning social security system, a housing system, so that people aren't worried about things like money or keeping their homes when they are unwell. Mental health needs to be taken as seriously as physical health is. And it is a steep uphill battle to get these changes through. But Rebecca won't back down because she knows that we must see that change. And right now, if you feel alone, if you are thinking about suicide, please speak up. Please reach out. You do not have to go through this alone. You are beautiful. You are stronger than you know. You are loved even by people you have not met. People who want to support you, love you, cherish you just as much as you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Sharmina August and also to MP Rebecca Long-Bailey. Dennis has just told me that apparently the 5-year suicide prevention strategy is being released tomorrow. So I'll encourage you all to have a look at it and see what you think. But without further ado, I'd now like to welcome to the stage Vinnie Peculiar. So Vinnie grew up in Worcestershire, but we won't hold that against him. And he trained as a nurse before signing to Manchester cult label Ugly Man Records, former home to Elbow. He's since put out 14 albums of literate, autobiographical pop music over a 20-year career, touring band, solo and duo shows in the UK, Ireland, Europe and the US. So, Vinnie.
She's handing out the biscuits and she's making a sign. Touches her elbow and she smiles. Man in a wheelchair with an alphabet ball, support him at the wrist, and he will tell you which team he supports. He supports. 'Cause everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say. We're just learning how to listen. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're listening. Listen. Girl on the swings, she's in a world of her own. She doesn't speak, but she can text you on the phone. Man in a pram with a giant head, watching the cricket, he knows everything they said, yeah. Just ask him the score, go on, just ask him. 'Cause everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say. We're just learning how to listen. Yeah, listen. Listen. Come on. Listen to each other. Listen. Everyone's got something to say, yeah. Everyone's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say. We're just learning how to listen, yeah. That's all we gotta do. Listen.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Vinny. That was incredible. And we'll be hearing more from Vinny later on. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Mel Anderton. Mel lost her son Jake to suicide, and she's here tonight to share her story and provide support to those here remembering loved ones to suicide. So please welcome Mel.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dennis, for the opportunity to join you all at this event. So, I'm a mother who is bereaved by suicide. My son Jake, who was my only child, took his own life at the age of just 23, and I still find it surreal to be talking about Jake and suicide in the same sentence. It's not something that you ever imagine or expect. So I will share a little with you about what happened to Jake, but I would also like to share with you the journey that his untimely death has taken me on, and what I have learnt and what has helped me. So growing up, Jake didn't have any issues around mental health. He was confident, he was popular, he was enjoying the student life, he was studying photography and travelling with friends. But everything changed just 10 months before Jake died. He suddenly became extremely reckless, impulsive, obsessive, spending money, getting into debt, very rapid mood swings, and all of this was completely out of character. So these 10 months before Jake died, he was desperate. The whole situation was desperate. It was chaotic and it was extremely challenging. So Jake realised himself, when he spoke to us as the family, that he recognised that he wasn't feeling right. And what he tried to do at that time, he tried to control his mood swings, and he started self-medicating using benzos off the internet, so using what he thought was diazepam. So this really was, and we didn't know it at the time, it was the beginning of the end, because he was about to become stuck in something called the benzo trap, and we just didn't know it at the time. What we know now is that Jake more than likely had bipolar, and he was self-medicating to control this. And I don't say that lightly, because I have spoken to professionals who knew Jake and worked with him, so they say to me, yeah, that probably was the underlying issue. So yeah, and because he was self-medicating and buying benzos off the internet, that is extremely dangerous, but it's not uncommon. And self-medicating itself to try and regulate your own your sort of mood swings is also what people tend to try to do themselves. So I think firstly, the platform this evening isn't the place for me to go through step by step what did and what didn't happen in relation to Jake's care, but to cut to the chase. He was denied a dual diagnosis and was told that he had to deal with the substance misuse first. He was passed from pillar to post, he was referred, he was deferred, he was re-referred between the GP, substance misuse teams and A&E. Okay, so yeah, and we took it at face value that that's how you have to do these things, and he did everything that was asked of him, and he just didn't get anywhere with the help. There was a lot of help there, it just wasn't connected. So these 10 months were not only chaotic, but they were very dangerous. And whilst he was being passed between services with no real care plan at the centre of it, Jake's strategies for self-harm were escalating. There were numerous admissions to A&E, and at one point Jake had a seizure due to going cold turkey because he'd run out of his benzos off the internet. And we were chasing the promise of a safe prescription. That's what he needed. That's what we were told. He had to deal with the substance misuse. He had to get a safe prescription to be able to get more stable, to be assessed, and then to be able to work with him. So we were chasing that, and it never came. So it felt like, for me, it felt like Mission Impossible, and it felt like I'd lost Jake during those 10 months before he even died. Felt like Jake was behind a glass panel, if you like, a glass screen. I could see him, I could just about hear him, but I couldn't reach him. Whatever I tried to do to help, he was so irrational and he was so unwell that it just didn't touch the sides at all. And I can say with all honesty that Jake fought hard to live, and I fought hard to save him. And it was a real battle in those 10 months, and it's soul destroying, trying to help someone that you actually can't help. And it can feel very isolating and very frightening. For me as his mother or as a carer, when you are constantly told by the professionals at that time, you can take him home, go into A&E, he's had crisis and etc., he can go home now. And he was constantly referred back to the young people's service at substance misuse team. So nobody really got a hold of it. Just before Jake died, I weighed less than 7 stone due to the stress and the despair of trying to get him the help that he desperately needed. At the inquest, the coroner, who was brilliant, saw everything that I had seen and more. A Regulation 28 to prevent future deaths was issued. The key issues were the disconnected services at that time in Trafford. Something I remember the coroner saying at the inquest when someone questioned one appointment that Jake had missed, and she stopped them and she said, Jake engaged well with services. The problem was that he had to keep re-engaging due to being referred and re-referred. Effectively, he was left to wean himself off benzos, which, as we know, is extremely dangerous thing to do. After Jake died, I spent a lot of time following up the recommendations made by the coroner, a couple of years in fact, and I met with a number of people who'd already worked with Jake, people who hadn't, and asked lots of questions and found out lots of things and saw a lot of changes that were happening or plans that were being made at the time. And then 5 years after Jake died, I wanted to explore the question, is suicide preventable or is it inevitable? And the answer for me is it's preventable if the missed opportunities of the past are today's lessons learned. That is just so important to me. So to help me to sort of explore and investigate that question, I came up with the question of what would Jake's experience be today? Because if I don't see that change and I don't have anything, So I went back to just the specific services who were involved, and etc. And what I found, I've written about just in a personal blog, but it was extremely encouraging. All the barriers that Jake had have gone. Okay, in that small pocket, I'm not saying everywhere, but in that pocket of services who were involved in Jake's care. I am really proud of Jake because without his voice, the changes would not have happened, and I feel very privileged that he trusted me enough to share with me his suicidal thoughts. I didn't always want to hear about it, it wasn't easy, and his substance misuse and other recreational drug use. And he also allowed me to go to appointments with him. So a 23-year-old, young man didn't have to tell his mum everything, and sometimes I kind of wish he hadn't. But if he hadn't been so vocal, then his inquest would have been an open and shut case. Just another young male who'd been lost to suicide to add to the 6,188 who died by suicide in 2015, the year that Jake died. So I've come a long way with my grief over the past 8 years, and people talk about this thing about acceptance with your grief, and it used to terrify me, and I used to think, I don't want acceptance, and what even is it? And it would mean that I was abandoning him and sort of accepting that he's gone, and that would be it. But I think I do have acceptance, and for me personally, and because grief is different for everybody, just for me it means that I can make plans, I do things to move forward, I can reflect, it's okay to smile, it's okay to be sad and tearful, and I think I've come to understand and trust my grief, and to know that when to go with the flow, because I do like to be in control, and a lot of the time you're not, especially in the early years. So I've learned when to just kind of go with the flow and just let it happen when that grief has no control over how you feel. It's those what people call those waves, if you like. I try not to dwell on the huge sadness and tragedy of Jake's loss. I try to do positive and uplifting things, and I currently work with others who have lived experience of mental health, not just suicide, and we work together, and that's how I met Dennis from Lived Experience, and we work together to influence and to develop mental health services in Greater Manchester. And I just want to finish with something that made me think this week. So a colleague forwarded an article to me, and it made me think. So it's gone to press for Greater Manchester Mental Health Services, and the title of the article is "He Wouldn't Be Here If It Wasn't For You." And it's written by a person who cares for somebody with co-occurring conditions, who's in and out of crisis and so on. And this person praises the work of the Manchester Dual Diagnosis Liaison Team, who take the innovative approach. They join up their services, they actively work together, and they take the view that individual cases are not complex. No one's complex, we just are who we are. Just as it is, and they look at what it is that is needed, what agencies, which professionals, who can get together, who can work as a team, and nothing's too much trouble. And it just reminded me and made me think that just not long after Jake died, and I hadn't been on social media back in those days, and I was scrolling through his Instagram account, and I found something that he'd written, and it says, "Just want to say thank you to my mum for being here through these past few months of chaos, through the seizures, riding in the back of ambulances, making things happen that otherwise wouldn't have kept me here now. It must have been shit to watch." Well, yeah, it was, and that really touched me when I found that a couple of months after Jake had died. So I think what this made me think about, as a mother left to, take him home, you can go home now, and it's always back to you to look after somebody with mental health, and you don't know what else to do but what you normally do, then, of course we need to, sorry, I'll stop that bit again. We look at what you can achieve when services get it right. So as a mother, you can only do so much, and I know that I have to accept that maybe there wasn't anything else I could have done. That's part of my guilt and part of my grief. But, when you've got services who also work with you and not just leave you feeling isolated as a parent or as a carer or as a partner, then it can work. And there are pockets out there in Greater Manchester where it is coming together. And I know it's not the whole picture, and I know it doesn't work for everybody, but there is hope. And of course we need hope. It's a positive feeling, but hope alone isn't enough. Behind the hope, there must be a plan, a strategy, a coming together of things for what you hope to happen. Okay, so we have to have all those things coming together. So thank you for listening. Sorry, I rambled on. And much love, as Jake would say. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you to Mel for sharing some of yours and Jake's stories with us all. It was moving and inspiring, but hopefully also a call to action to try and make as much difference as possible. So, we've just amended the order of the proceedings slightly. So I'd now like to welcome to the stage June Green from the African and Caribbean Health Network. June is the health liaison practitioner, and she's going to talk to us about the fantastic work that they're doing, supporting their communities across Greater Manchester, including right here in Salford. So welcome to June.
Yeah, I think so. All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for your invitation today. I'd like to address the pressing issue that affects our society deeply, the impact of suicide on Black, African and Caribbean community. Specifically, the alarming suicide rates amongst young men of Black and African Caribbean origin in England and Wales, and also the vital services provided by the Caribbean African Health Network, shortened to CARN, to address these critical issues. In recent years, suicide rates amongst men in England and Wales have reached an all-time high. Young Black men of Black African or Caribbean origin are more at risk of taking their lives compared to white men. Factors such as psychological or physical abuse, bullying, unemployment, financial stress, and the COVID-19 pandemic have exacerbated these issues. The pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on the Black community, leading to higher rates of mortality and financial instability. And this demographic faces increased stress, grief, trauma, and discrimination. Discussing mental health issues has long been stigmatised, particularly within the Black community. We're just not very good at speaking, at reaching out and talking to each other. And many individuals end up criminalised and in prison before being diagnosed with mental health issues, perpetuating the cycle of stigma. Black people are 40% more likely to access mental health treatment through the police and criminal justice system. They're more likely to be compulsorily admitted, placed in high secure wards, and submitted to seclusion or restraint. Access to mental health treatment, particularly talking therapy, is crucial for all people, particularly for young Black men. And early intervention can significantly impact their future and the well-being of those around them. Barriers for the Black community seeking help include a lack of trust in services, fear due to psychosocial impact of racism, language barriers and isolation. CARN plays a crucial role in supporting the community and offers culturally appropriate counselling services to address mental health issues. They provide green arts and wellbeing services, offering creative and physical activities inspired by Caribbean and African culture, promoting mental and physical wellbeing. They provide a harm reduction initiative, which is to provide the African and Caribbean community with quality, culturally sensitive, preventative services which empowers people to recognise the signs and management of self-harm, suicide, gambling, drugs and alcohol misuse. CARN also offers an advocacy service to provide advice and support when dealing with other agencies, helping individuals navigate complex systems. CARN's also trying to foster the next generation by developing boys and girl clubs for children between the ages of young people, as they like to be called, between the ages of 10 and 18, aimed at improving their health and the well-being of the young people from the black community. In conclusion, the impact of suicide on the black, African and Caribbean community is of grave concern. Factors such as stigma, disparities in mental health treatment, and the psychosocial effects of racism have made this issue even more challenging. However, organisations like CARN are stepping up to provide vital services, fostering hope and resilience within the community. But it's our collective responsibility to support and promote such initiatives, ensuring a brighter future for the black community and helping to reduce the devastating impact of suicide for us all. Thank you.
So thank you to June from CARN. We now welcome Jardel Rodriguez, who, as many of you know, is a talented poet recognised for his vibrant and technically accomplished performance poetry. Jardel was BBC Words First winner in 2020 and UNESCO Slammer Vision winner in 2021. You may recognise him from his Nationwide Building Society TV advert or his performance at the 200th anniversary of the Peterloo Massacre. So please welcome Jardel Rodriguez.
Hello. I'm part of a men's mental health group. It's called Man Dem Meet Up. It's basically just a community that any man is welcome to join. You know, before I joined a men's mental health group, I thought that it might just be meet up in, you know, some dry church hall, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, or I'm dead sad, but it's not that, you know what I mean? We have a laugh, we do some interesting stuff, and everything's free. So yeah, Man Dem Meet Up for any man who wants to join. I've lost 2 people to suicide in my life. The first person was my uncle Peter, and then my mate Danny. You know, we love and miss them both dearly. I was thinking of what poem I should read, and this one felt relevant. So yeah, it's called Debts. I was weak when my breath went, now I weep with my brethren. Brother, how deep have the depths been? How many people have checked into that hole you keep where your head's been? Told you about the deep mathematics that live behind your eyes and how they leak with the peeling of shed skin. It's not that I can't sleep. It's that I can't see how some people are slept in. Addicted to flirting with ideas. Never taught to seek what we need when speaking with west winds. It's just me, myself, and my million meaningless meanings. Meddling. Needing an easel, you'll easily sketch him. Catching fleas of fleeting connections when you are on your knees, you'll accept gin. Tell me, with each birth of the day, how much further away are your dreams seemingly stretching? But he who believes all evil is etched in, we leave at the entrance in favour of who we choose to be by the ending. Thank you.
So, thank you, Jardel. That was truly memorable. Now we move on to what I think is the hardest part of tonight. Please welcome Gina Reynolds, Salford Ceremonial Mayor, and Tom Stannard, the Chief Exec of Salford City Council and the Place Lead for the Integrated Care Partnership in Salford. Gina and Tom will now read out the roll of remembrance. And this will include the lighting of our candles, followed by a minute's silence for all of the lives that we have lost to suicide. Please welcome Gina and Tom.
Alison, thank you. And if I can just take a quick moment to thank you for hosting this evening, and Dennis in particular for putting everything into organising this ceremony. I think it is an extraordinary and poignant part of the city's remembrance of the need for mental health awareness, and particularly of our contribution across the city to World Suicide Prevention Day. So it's a privilege for me to be here as part of this with you, so thank you both for that. We light these candles as symbols of our love as we gather together this evening in remembrance of Freddie Larson, Andrew Greenacre, Lee Johns, Jenny Schofield, Joanne Steig, Rachel Millard, Debbie Joyce, Stuart Patrick McDermott, Melvin Linus, Jean Cameron, Katie O'Neill, Paul Hames, Ryan Hinshelwood, Peter Gatenby, Clara Malagan Gonzalez, Jonathan Armitt, Jamie Lee Danks, Derek Modrell, Adam Statham, Josephine Suzanne Forte, Jamie Horrocks, Michael Roach, Andrew Cook, Les Foster, Councillor Paul Longshaw, John Francis Trick, Tony Dawson, Kelly Summers, Kanan Navaratnam, James Jimmy Penman O'Hara, Janice Mary Wakeling, Jane Corner, David Walsh, B. Adayeba, Michael Mickey Brown, Shirley Ann Jensen, Anne Hedges, Gareth Hughes, James Morgan, Jeanette Ann Collier, Colin Matheson, Caroline Parkinson, Paul Shanks, Ian Thompson, Fionvar Cullen, Ashley Rushworth, Gareth Paul Seddon, Joseph Franco, Terence Patrick Strongatharm, Philip Michael Strongatharm, Gail Mary Strongatharm, Ashley Reese Lynch Finchy, Philip Truesdale Hunter, Lee Jason Sean Ridgway, Matthew James Sherratt, Leah Parkinson, Helen England, John J. Morris, Tony Philip McNulty, Alan Penter, Glenn Robert Wall, Benjamin Harrison, Natasha White, Kelly Summers.
Faye Larkin, Joshua Phillips, Malcolm Roy Taylor, Jack Holder, Joyce Mogridge, Sin Wilkins, Connell Arthur, Carlo Pacini, Gareth Hughes, Anya Maguire, Matthew J, Fionn Cullen, Jacqueline Jack Rose Hargreaves, Wilfred George Hatton, Stephen Barnes, Ryan Prince, Pippa McMahon, Tyler John Smith, James William Brown, Jack Holder, Leon Keogh, Josh Hollowin, Francis David Warburton, Jesse Daniels, David Valentine Passley, Craig Parker, Shannon Shine, James Morgan, Mike Woods, Sam Copestick, David Jarvis, Lee Yarsley, Sean Anthony Kay, Sabina Minhas, Daniel James O'Neill, Louis Allen, Craig Dodds, Bethany Palmer, Emily Owen, Sophie Airy, Barry Wincup, Neville Brooks, Cairo Brooks, David Twist, Gary Robinson, Philippa Tatham, Aaron Anthony Worley, also known as Worley, Darren Sharples, Vivian Brough, Terence Tex Murphy, Gareth Barrow, Louise Woodcock, Megan Lee Reid, Mark Castle, Jordan Phillip, Benjamin Barsby, Joe O'Doherty, David Neil Barnes, Craig Hole, Sabina, Angela Ackers, Stephen Reed, Anthony Ainsworth, Harry Taylor. And to all those that we have lost to suicide, we now bow our heads in remembrance and thanks for the time, love and memories we shared with this minute's silence.
I want a brother and I want my dog and I want to look at the ocean blue. I want a lover and I want a God and I want to feel some emotion with you on the outside looking in at the big grey hospital. An old man fingers through the paper. Nobody understands his maker. Along the polished corridor, they led you safe into seclusion. They said this boy's in need of treatment. Could be a paranoid delusion. And you can visit if you want to. Wow, any time that it's convenient. The doctor says the illness is non-specific. He's still looking hard for it, and on the inside looking out from the big grey hospital, watching the nurses as they float from ward to ward in their white coats. Back in the summer of '83, I got a really crazy family, changing the baby in the day room, glued to the TV in the afternoon. And you can visit if you want to. Oh, any time that it's convenient. Thanks for the history and the insight. Pretty soon we'll get the drugs right. Pretty soon we'll get the drugs right. You see the shape of this cold fist in the frozen early morning air, held it up against the sky. Let's hope, let's talk, let's laugh, let's cry. Back in the quiet side of town, we recognize that boys' brigade band sound. Could have been a drummer or a comic. What is and what is not ironic. And you can visit if you want to. Well, there is a WRVS shop just down the corridor by D Block. Just ask somebody if you get lost. Just ask somebody if you get lost. Sat all alone in a side room. It's no good staring into space. For all tomorrow's birthdays, the ward sister says no change. They say go make a rug or tray. Those OT helpers all sugar and spice, hand rolling cigarettes to save. 'Cause your benefits, they've been delayed. You go to therapy at night. Back to the ward for meal times. Some of the patients go berserk. Soon they get treated by the nurse. Time out is quiet and it's safe. You get wrapped up unconscious finally. You wake and in the dormitory alone. You hear ringing in the office telephone. You can visit if you want to. Anytime, just call beforehand. The injection is too weekly. Those tranquilizers make you sleepy. They make you sick, they make you creepy, yeah. mother, and I want my dog, and I want to look at the ocean blue. I want to love her, and I want to guard, and I want to feel some emotion with you on the inside looking out, from the outside looking in. At the loonies in the bin, yeah, it's not me, oh, you, it's him. He's in that big grey hospital. He's in that big grey hospital. In that big grey hospital, yeah. And I can picture him now. Thank you very much.
So that was the incredible Vinnie Peculiar. The song Big Grey Hospital is about Vinnie's brother, who he lost back in 2001 to suicide. The song is about the impact of his brother's initial hospitalisation and diagnosis and its impact on his family. And I know a lot of you in the audience tonight have got your own stories, so can we have a big thank you to Vinnie, please? So if you just bear with me for a couple more minutes, then we can all have a cup of tea. You all want one, don't you? So on behalf of Start, I want to thank all of our speakers tonight, to Sharmina August, to Gina, to Tom, to June and to Mel, to our amazing poet Jardel and Vinnie for his incredible performances. Their time and support has helped make this a truly memorable evening. In a moment, we would like to invite you all to join us in the Museum and Art Gallery for refreshments provided by Salford City Council. But to end, I'd like to thank you for supporting Reach Out, Start to End Suicide, and we hope to see you again next year. Big thanks to Dennis and to the rest of the people at the Start team. But I just want to say, I'm going off the script now, Bernie. Bernadette Conlon founded Start 30 years ago. Can we give Bernie a massive round of applause, please? So we also need to thank our sponsors. You know, I'm a corporate. No payments have been exchanged, by the way. Salford City Council, Salford Integrated Care Partnership, used to be called the CCG, and Salford University. Thanks to everyone who's come along and contributed tonight. In true Salford DIY style, if there's any flags left, can you make sure they're rolled up and put in the van? But if not, you're welcome to go into the Museum and Art Gallery for refreshments. I'm Alison Page from Salford CVS. Thank you and good night.
Hey, how did it go?